Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. And today's video, I've got two semi news story worthy things to talk about, and then I'm going to get into laying down some knowledge for you. So, if you find any of this information useful, then go ahead and subscribe down below, click the little bell icon. And the big thing is if you have a friend or family member that would benefit for what I'm talking about in today's video, then share the video with them. Sharing with people gets the video out there better than people stumbling across the channel. If they like it, they'll subscribe and stick around and maybe share it with someone else. And that's how we grow the channel. But let's get into it. I frequently purchase groceries and go to sports outdoor stores to buy general stuff and to kind of take stock on what's around me. And I've talked about in recent times, food's not as much food is there, and what is there, it's more expensive. But I've got some good news for you. Only it was either yesterday or 2 days ago. Went to Academy to pick up some new tennis shoes. Me and the fiance, and anytime I go into Academy, even if it's just to walk around, I always go check out the hunting section, look at the ammo that they've got there. And today was the first time in the last 3 or 4 months that I've gone that they actually had a selection of 223/556 ammo. They had some 40 S&W, a little bit of 9mm, a little bit of 30-06, a bunch of AK ammo, the 7.62 by 39. And the last time I'd gone, they had a 3-box limit per caliber, and this time they had a 5-box limit, across the board. So they're kind of getting rid of the limitations on it, and they actually had ammo in stock. Now, the last time I bought 5.56 ammo was at a gun show in about May, and the only way to get it at a reasonable price was to buy 500 rounds at a time. If you went for the 20 or 40 round stuff, you were paying $1 to $3 a round for it. And they had the 62 grain Winchester 5.56 ammo for $12 a box, which in all honesty is not a extremely terrible price to pay for it. Pre-pandemic times, pre-civil unrest stuff going on, Winchester was a little bit fancier brand in the AR ammo world, and it typically ran anywhere between $8 to $10 a box. It's definitely not a dollar per round like it was before. The 22 ammo has gone down substantially as well. They're 50 round boxes. I talked to the guy that worked there, and he said that they had gotten a shipment of them in, and they were selling them for $8 a box, which at the lowest I've ever bought it for was $2.50 a box, or $2.49. But they still had the 325 round box and the 500 round box, and they were in the $30-ish range. So the good news is I am seeing more and more ammo out there. It could be from a variety of reasons. The supply is finally catching up with the demand. People feel comfortable with how much they've purchased. I read one article saying gun sales were up like 76% overall last year, 76 or 78%. And so not only are the people that already have firearms out there buying ammo, but the new firearms owners wanted a slice of that pie as well. I did remember hearing a couple of ammo companies either opening more production lines. Certain aspects of different ammo companies were being liquidated and combined. I think that was Remington, that their ammo production was being taken over by Ruger, Winchester, and a couple of other people. And then a lot of these companies did move their production to nearly 24/7 production. All that being said, if it's out there and you need the ammo and you're willing to pay these higher prices for it, then go for it. They are still limiting what you can purchase at your big box store, so they're kind of trying to build up their stock as well. But we ended an election year that also tends to have a uptick in sales on firearms and stuff, and so we're kind of getting into that lull period right before the midterms. People start yelling and screaming at each other again, and then we'll have another lullish year. And depending on how the political climate's going, whether it seems more likely a Republican will get in, gun sales won't, tick up as high. But if it seems like another Democrat, whether it's Biden running again, or maybe Harris or someone else, whatever the polling and the likelihood of a winner, if it leans Democrat, it tends to increase the sale of firearms, because they're the people that are trying to tell us what you can and can't have. But I'm not trying to get political on that. The semi-good news is prices are going back down on ammunition, and I say it's semi-good because it's not back to what it was before. You used to be able to buy steel case 20 rounds of 223 for $4 to $7 a box, and brass for $6.50 to $9. 22 ammo, you could buy a brick of it or 500 rounds for $20, and you're paying about $30 now. But at its peak, it was being sold for $40 and $50. So it is coming back down. It's not back to normal, so I'm not going to say it's good news. I'm just saying it's okay news. But now that we've got the news aspect of this aside, let's jump into some meat and potatoes for, the whole point of why I'm making this video. And that is, if you are one of these new firearm owners, you're new to prepping, or maybe you just haven't heard this information spewed before, then, get some pen and paper or commit this to memory. In recent videos, I've talked about why your first firearm should be a 22. I've argued the 22 caliber versus harder hitting stuff like the 30 caliber. I've argued, if you're going to limit yourself to 3 firearms, make it a pistol, a 22, and a shotgun. I've done a lot of firearm, pros and cons, and I think I'm able to do that because I've got the 22, I've got the AR, I've got the 30 caliber firing firearms, and I've got quite a few of the military surplus bolt action stuff. So the argument can be made for all of these different firearms. But one thing that should stay similar to all of these, except maybe the 22, is how much ammo you should have, and what's its purpose. So if you're going with an AR and a shotgun and a pistol, then standard talk out of a lot of preppers for a while has been at least 1,000 rounds for each of those firearms. Shotgun's better for, close quarter defensive situations. The pistol is your secondary, and the AR is your main battle rifle. If you're going more of the path of a Minuteman or a militia and you're going for a 30 caliber firearm, then you can engage your adversaries from a further distance away, which means you should be able to either eliminate them more quickly in some sort of ambush or hit and run style tactics, or like I said, it's a hit and run. You shoot, you wound, maim, or take out a couple of people, and then you leave. You're not in a prolonged situation. And so the amount of ammo you put away based on that scenario is whatever you carry for standard loadout. I would times that by 10, 15 encounters. So if you're carrying, for instance, this M1 carbine, I've got 6 magazines I take with me, one of them being a 30 round, the rest are 15. Probably going to up that here in the future, but with 5 magazines at 15, we're looking at 75 rounds plus the 130. We're looking at 105 rounds, so 10 encounters. We're still sitting at 1,000 rounds. If you want to go even further distance, maybe you're only carrying 30 or 40 rounds with you, and 10 engagements is 300 or 400 rounds. But the argument for that is, you're not putting lead downrange for a prolonged period of time. For the shotgun, I put the 1,000 rounds on there because, for instance, like this box that I have here, specifically for pheasants, it's a 4-shot when your standard shotgun ammo is like 7.5 shot or 8-shot, mostly clay pigeons and doves. But the shotgun is also, in my sense, a dual purpose for providing food as well. So I'm planning for not a lot of close quarter situations where the shotgun will be used, and more planning it on a food gathering technique. With the pistol, 1,000 rounds, it sounds like a good number. If you're basing your ammo capacity, ammo storage for a longer grid down scenario, and I'm talking, we basically go back to the 1800s way of living. The power grid fails and it doesn't come back on for 1 year or longer. You're getting your light from candles and campfires, AC's out the window. The electricity you have is limited, if any at all. Then I would shoot for 3,000 rounds for each of those firearms. Outside of those 3 firearms, rifle, pistol, shotgun, whether you take the Minuteman approach or the standard AR approach, the 22, regardless of whether it's part of that 3-round setup or 3 firearm setup or your grid down for a year plus scenario, I think everyone's goal for that should be to hit 5,000 rounds, and then once you hit that, just don't stop. At least before the ammo had gotten as expensive as it has gotten. Like I said earlier, it was like $6 for a 50-round box. Even at that price, you're not breaking the bank if each time you go into academy to get your protein powder or shoes for the kids, you pick up a couple boxes. My dad hadn't counted how much 22 ammo he had for years. He would fill up an ammo can, and when he stopped by the Army surplus store, he'd grab another one. When I finally got fairly serious into prepping, I started, stocking up and creating a spreadsheet of what I had, poundage and stuff. When I hit 3,000 rounds of 22 ammo, I was bragging with him. It felt good, especially when it was $250 a box, and I went to academy for, workout stuff and protein powder and stuff like that on a weekly basis. So I was constantly picking up the ammo. He's been doing that for 10 or 15 years. And when we finally sat through and counted it, he had the 3,000 rounds of 22 just in his CCI ammo. Grand total, it was something like 11,300-ish rounds. So a massive amount of ammo. If you broke that down, divided it by 50 and times it by about $2 to $5, because as it went up and down between election years and supply and demand shortages, he just never stopped buying the stuff. And that's one of those things that maybe I should make a video. If you've got disposable income, when you go to the store, just kind of nonchalantly spend an extra $5 or $10. You mix that up between 22 ammo, rice, beans, this and that, and you'd be surprised at how much you put away not actively thinking about prepping. But the moral of the story is, with the price of 22 ammo and the versatility of the round, that's one of those things that every prepper, if you don't own a 22, I believe you should purchase one. And if you don't have at least the 3,000 rounds, just make it, you don't like, I'm not saying you need to, create a goal sheet of, I got to purchase, 200 rounds in July, and then I can do 250 in August, and then, I can do 100 in September as I'm winding down for Christmas. Just make it a habit of adventuring down your shooting sports section each time you go to the store. If it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. But most of the time for me, it probably wasn't in the budget, but at the time I had the $3 or $4 to spend, and I spent it and worried about it later. It shouldn't be a break the bank, max the credit cards out kind of thing. But talking about 22 ammo, a little too much. The point of what I'm getting with all of this is 1,000 rounds for each of your main firearms. If you've got two ARs, some would argue you need 2,000 rounds for each of them. I would make the argument, if two people aren't using them, then stick with the 1,000 rounds. But if, you've got your, son, he's 15, 16, he's getting, into that adult stage, and you plan on having him as an asset in a grid down situation, he's received his training and everything, and laws are out the window, then it would benefit from having the 1,000 rounds for that firearm. If you got a family member that plans on bugging out to where you're at, they don't have the firearm, but if defenses need to be made, that family member is not just going to go unarmed. My example is, my cousin. He's in a wheelchair, doesn't have the extensive funds to go out and buy a bunch of firearms, but I've told him, I'm taking care of you. I'm not going to let, crap happen to you. But when you get here, you know how to use this, and I expect you to use it. So that's why I've got, well, it's not the reason why I have more guns than I have hands, but that could be another reason for why you have, multiple firearms of the same caliber. Maybe you're trying to arm a small community. Two is one and one is none. If you have two people in a situation, you're probably going to do better than having one person. If you have a community versus just your small family, the community will probably benefit from that a little bit more. But with that being said, the video is getting a little long, and if you enjoyed, subscribe and like the video, and share it with a friend or family member. I'll catch you in the next one.